a few cushions, just tuck them underneath the shins or in between your bottom and the heels, or maybe even a little stack of the fists to begin with under the forehead, or just rest in a cushion under the forehead. There's no need just yet to seek real crazy length. All you're going to do is just settle the body. Let that belly rest between the thighs for a moment or two. This is a mini inversion. We've been either seated or stood on our feet most of the day. And here your head is a little lower than most of your organs. So there's mini inversion, just giving a chance for the blood to circulate elsewhere early in this session. And then a chance for you to check into the breath. I quite like child's pose for breath because you can allow the belly to completely relax and almost drift into the thighs with each inhale and exhale. And as you wriggle the hips maybe a little side to side, as you allow them to soften, maybe a little press through the tops of the feet into the floor. Just some subtle articulations, maybe a little sink of the upper chest towards the floor. You might take 2 or 3 deep breaths here now as you breathe into that belly, but then focusing on those ribs. As you extend that breath into the rib cage. As you almost think of each rib, with each inhale, gently distancing itself away from the other ribs next to it. And it's quite hard, so use the chance to maybe break up the segments. On your next 4 inhales, breathe into your front left side. And try and get those ribs to gently distance themselves away from each other. And then your front right side. And then your back right side. Breathing into those back right ribs. The movements might be minimal, they might be non-existent. Finally, your left back ribs. Noting if you get any noticeable distance between them. Now we can just start to walk those fingertips a little further away from the toes. And maybe a gentle sink of that chest down towards the floor. As we maybe glide ourselves forward a little so that the hips come up and over the knees. Walk those forearms or hands a little further forward, resting the head down towards the ground, gently arching the pelvis up towards the ceiling. A subtle drop of the chest and upper back, maybe armpits towards the floor. As you walk yourself back towards child's pose, leave the left arm long and straight and just reach the right arm underneath the left arm. As you let the forehead rest back down to the ground, it's up to you here. You can either keep your left rib cage square to the floor, or squarish. And that'll get a nice sensation through your right shoulder. Or you can rotate that left rib cage up towards the ceiling. Drawing back into center. And as we switch sides, left palm facing up towards the ceiling. Either rotating right armpit towards the sky, or maybe gently sinking the right rib cage towards the floor. But your call, you'll roughly know what the body's craving a little more. Scooting yourself back into neutral, drawing those knees back in towards each other. As we walk the hands back behind you, fingertips face away. Remember, we roll the shoulders back and reach that chest tall. Everything in the day brings those shoulders forward, that upper back rounds. Letting the head drop if you wish. And again, breathing into those rib cage. Here, trying to breathe into your side ribs. Sending the side ribs in towards your biceps. Before walking the hands forward, bringing that chin in towards your chest. And you can either let the arms settle down by your toes, with the palms facing up towards the ceiling, with the forehead sort of on the very top of the forehead rested to the ground. If you're sort of towards your nose and the forehead resting to the floor, you might feel the neck a little compressed. So coming almost to the very top of the forehead. Letting the shoulder blades distance away from each other. Before bringing those hands up and interlocking them behind your head. And as you bring the chin in towards your chest and flatten the forearms towards the floor, a gentle press into those hands as you send the mid to upper spine to the wall in front of you. Rolling through your spine as you walk the fingertips back, all the way up nice and tall. Taking the right hand behind us and reaching the left arm up and over. You might want to let the thighs drift away from the heels. And if you do so, when we stay here for a breath, breathe into those front thighs, lengthening through the rec fem, through our thighs, through our hip flexors, towards the ceiling. It's one of the very rare ones that we get more length on the inhale. As we switch sides, we usually exhale deep into a stretch, and you'll find here as you switch sides and breathe into the pose, you'll get a bigger sensation through that front body. Dropping yourself back down to the floor, hands alongside the shins as you drop into your forward fold. You can take an interlock of the fingers and rest them on the lower back. Or you might feel drawn to reaching that interlock up and over your head. A little roll through the spine again, back up to neutral, and a little drift of the hands forward into 4-point. As we flip the right hand onto its top, so onto the fist, and a little press of the fist into the floor. Keep the weight through that left hand. And just allowing as much weight as allows through that right. Switching sides as you pop the top of the fist onto the floor on the left side. Before coming back into neutral. Taking both fingertips away from you. Just out to the sides and a little rock to your left, a little rock over to your right. Once more, a little rock over to the left, shifting the body weight over to one wrist and back over to your right wrist. Coming back into center and bringing both fingertips towards the knees. If it's a bit much, feel free to place one forward and one back. And just a little glide forward ahead of the wrists and a little glide back, bringing the shoulders above the wrists, maybe towards the fingertips. A couple more times, a little rock forward and a little rock back. Last one, and as we rock forward this time, curl the toes under and just delay the palms leaving the floor, delay your fingertips leaving the floor, and have a little sit back down onto those heels. You can part the knees again, just ideally with the toes curled under. Walking both hands over to the right and distancing both armpits away from your hips. Back into neutral and over to your left. Back into neutral. Scooting the knees back in together and stepping that right leg forward to the front of your mat. As we come up nice and tall through the fingertips. And then keep that length as you bring the left hand to the right knee. Just gentle rotation to your right. It's really hard so late in the day. Everything wants to slump. Try to keep the length through the spine for our rotations. As we come back into center, come tall and long through the spine first. Head, shoulders, rib cage, thighs, down to your knee. Right hand just inside and rotates to your left. As you drop back into neutral, this time as we come up nice and tall again, length through the spine, and then as you sink down towards that leading Achilles, a little reach up and over to the right. Back out through neutral. Exhaling as you sink, use your right hand inside the knee and rotate to the left. You can bring the hands in if you wish and a back gaze over the arm if you wish. Back into neutral, both hands to the mat, stepping the back leg forward. And as you soften the belly, remember to really bend the knees and allow our second inversion. We're not stretching the hamstrings, so there's very little sensation here through the back of the legs. We're flexing and folding through your back body. We're allowing a gentle release in that lower back, glutes area, all the way through our mid-back. And as you start to roll up through your spine, like that slinky, back up to standing. A little reach of that chest tall, taking the gaze past those long fingertips. Checking into the feet and where is the weight distributed in your feet as you take the gaze up towards the ceiling. Try keeping that weight through the heels, the midfoot and the base of your toes. Before bringing those arms back down to your side, letting them hang, roll forward, rolling back down through your spine towards the mat. A little walk of the hands around the left heel. You can let the left foot roll onto its outer knife edge. You can bend the right knee as much as you wish. As you almost distance that right armpit away from the right hip. Before coming back into neutral and walking around the right. Allowing the foot to roll onto its outer knife edge. And back in to center. As you take both hands to the mat and you step the right leg back, dropping the right knee to the floor, coming up tall through the fingertips. And as you dip towards the heel, a little rotation to your left. Visit the edge on your twist. It's quite easy just to come into a semi-twist. Use the opportunity to think lower spine, mid-spine, upper spine. Coming back into neutral, and again, finding that length from the back knee through the rib cage, through the crown. Left hand inside the leg as you rotate to your right. It's slow and it's considerate, but it's always with intent. As you return the hands back into neutral and come tall through the fingertips again. Little sink down towards the mat perhaps as you reach up and over to the left. You'll find the lower you sink, the more the lower back might arch. Coming back into center. And this time, bringing the left hand inside the left knee. Just a little leverage as you rotate to your right. Both hands back to the mat. Stepping the left leg back. Drawing the abs in as we lower the chest, leads down towards the ground. Walk your hands forward, roll yourself side to side. Couple of moments on your own as you find some distance and softness through your spine, as you create that space between the hips and the armpits, the toes and the fingertips. Once you've found that length, try and make a note of where your ribs are to the floor and where those hip bones are to the floor. Once you've found that length and that connection, try keep that length as you walk the forearms back in towards your ribs. As the forearms come closer, try not to compress into the lower spine. We've just spent that effort lengthening through the spine. Try keep that length as you roll the shoulders back and reach the chest through your arms. Squeeze the bum. Before drawing the abs in, a little raise of the waist away from the floor. Pressing yourself up and rocking yourself back into your down dog. Apologies, just trying to sort the lighting for a moment or two. And then as you walk those legs out side to side, right heel to the mat, left heel to the mat. There's no other time in your week you'd be this considerate to your body. As you settle through the back of the legs, just allow the chest to reach a little back towards those thighs. Just allow the bum to reach diagonally backwards towards the sky. And you can almost feel when you're not pressing firmly enough away from the mat, you'll feel your shoulder blades sliding up towards your bottom. When you press firm into the mat, reaching diagonally backwards, you'll feel those shoulder blades create a bit of distance away from your bottom. Let's rock ourselves forward, drawing the abs in into a plank. And you'll take up a more natural position in your hands under the shoulders and the feet back, settled. But that is our stance for down dog too. Roughly speaking, where your hands and feet are now. Little press through the hands as you glide the bum up and back. And chest towards your thighs. You can still have a bend in your knees. And that'll be your most likely ideal down dog hand-foot positioning. One more time as you rock forward into your strong plank. Pushing firm away from the floor. Not letting those hips sink before drawing the abs in and rocking back for your down dog. Press into the mat. Index finger and thumb. Walking those hands, this time back towards those feet. One by one, slowly, slowly, deliberately soft through the back of the legs. Taking that interlock of the arms around the elbows, or a moment or two of just letting the shoulders, letting the elbows drop. You might want a little twist through the body. You might crave a little swing of those elbows side to side. You might be ready for a little walk out of the back of the legs. It's your core, it's your body, it's been your day. Never really chasing anything, just waiting for that freedom. A little release of the hands, a little roll through the spine, vertebra by vertebra, back up to standing. As you come tall this time through those fingertips, drawing the chin parallel with your toes. As you rotate to the right, sending the right arm behind you, reaching that left arm tall and long in front of you. Allow the hips, if you wish, to rotate before coming back up nice and tall. Again, as you rotate to the left, sending the right arm straight ahead of you, left arm. The whole body will work here. Your ankles will gently flex, your knees will gently bend, your femur will rotate. Coming back up to neutral. As we sink the bottom back down towards our heels. Bringing the right elbow onto the left knee. When we compress here, everything will flex. Once we're in this position, I want you to reach the tailbone back and come tall through the crown. Try level those knees off. And try keep that equal weight in those feet. Before we come back into neutral, maybe reach the arms nice and long away from you. And just as you kept your ribs and your hips in that distance when we were flat on our mats, try keep that length as you drop the left elbow onto the right knee. Everything will want to flex to enable it. Try reach back through that tailbone and try reach tall through the crown as you find that rotation. Watch the knees want to drift away. Gently draw them equal. Before coming back into center, both hands to the mat, walking yourself all the way to the top end of the mat. Have those feet hip width or so apart. And roll onto the outside of the right foot, inside of the left foot. Then as you rotate the left arm nice and tall, for a brief side plank, let the hips sink towards the ground, but keep strong through that right arm and right shoulder. Feel the length through that right side body as you almost send the hip bone towards your right wrist. Then raise yourself back up to neutral. And as we switch sides, rolling onto the outside of the left foot, inside of the right. A little release of the arm. You can bring the arm back into the rib cage or the side. And as we sink the hips, try and keep the height through the press in the arm. And then you'll just gently drop the hips towards that left wrist. You might get this a bit ITB. You'll certainly get it through that left side body. Drawing yourself back up to neutral, back in to your plank. Dropping the knees to the floor and rolling through our spine. But keeping the length. So reaching the chest forward as we lower that mid-thigh. And rolling the shoulders back as you reach the chest through. Rolling all the way forward to the top end of your mat. Little wriggle through your hips is really healthy. Even in yoga we can sometimes be a little bit fixed and a little bit aligned. Use the chance to soften the belly. Use the chance to let the hips feel loose. As you bring the hands alongside your ribs, squeeze the bottom. Mini cobra. Try slide those hands underneath the elbows. When they're ahead, it makes an unhealthy up dog basically. So we want to get in good habits as bringing those hands underneath the elbows. And as you reach the chest tall, and you'll feel your lowest ribs probably still to the deck. A little squeeze of the bottom. Now relax the neck, relax the shoulders. As you release the hands, maintain that same posture as you reach the hands behind you. Try spin the palms to face the floor or away from each other, just so that you can engage your scapula. As you draw those hands back alongside the ribs, push firm through the tops of your feet. Push firm through the hands as you reach towards the top end of your mat, pressing for your up dog. So just arriving in up dog in reverse. Tall through the spine. Drawing the abs in to support the flip back into your down dog. Feet hip width or so apart. And a little reach of that right arm all the way back, perhaps to your left toes, maybe the back of your left heel. If you can stay strong through the left shoulder, a little rotation to glance underneath your armpit up towards the ceiling. Coming back into neutral. A fair spread on those right fingertips as you find the left toes, left heel or calf, and a little rotation, taking the gaze past the armpit towards the ceiling. Back in to neutral. Strong right glute, single leg downward dog, heel to bottom. Roll onto the outside of the left foot and just pause for a moment. You can let that right leg open out as much as you wish as you roll onto the outer knife edge of the left foot. Before drawing the abs in and swooping yourself through to the front end of the mat again. Find your length through your spine. Before rotating to your right. As you come back into neutral, spinning the back foot onto its outer knife edge, raising yourself up for your warrior two. Spinal tonight, so internally rotating that backhand, raising the right arm tall, reaching chest towards the ceiling as you sink at the hips. As we return out of the pose, try lengthen this right side body, bringing the right forearm onto the right knee, reaching the left arm up and over. Here the bum wants to arch back and the ribs want to close off towards the floor. So it's always that fine balance of gently sending the left armpit towards the ceiling, keeping the right side body long. As you return both hands to the mat, stepping the back leg forward, soft through the knees as you roll back up to standing. Little wriggle through the hips, whatever you need as you reach tall. Last roll down, chin into chest, soft through those knees. Maybe walking those legs out. I like to walk the legs out and then visit the hamstrings once we've been through a few sequences usually. It shouldn't be our priority in a forward fold, I don't think. But once we're warm, once the body knows where we're at, you can start to walk them out. When we gently soften the back of the hamstrings, they're a little bit looser in their current range of motion. When they're a little more supple, there's less pull on our pelvis. When there's less pull on our pelvis, there's less pull on our back. As we slide the hands up our shins for our flat back, reaching back through that tailbone, tall through the crown. Release those hands if you wish, straightening the legs to your 7 out of 10. Reaching the arms away from you, feeling the shift in the back of the legs, trying to keep that neutral spine. Noting how the shoulder mobility is, if we're able to get to horizontal or not. Drawing the hands back to the mat, stepping the legs all the way back. Up dog this time, so as we lower to halfway, drift forward that inch. There's our elbows over our wrists. Press tall, up dog. So it's a great back bend, but it should be long and strong. Brilliant. Draw the abs in, down dog. That was the best set of up dogs I've seen. A little strong left glute, single leg downward dog. Bend at the knee, roll onto the outside of that right foot. You can open your hips here as much as you wish, or as little as you wish. Draw those abs in as we step through between the hands. Here's our slumped spine. Come tall and long. Refine that length. Often I need a block here on the inside of the left leg, otherwise I slump again. Try to keep that length as you rotate to the left. It's still a press through the back heel. It's still a reach through the whole chest towards the ceiling as you drop back into neutral, sliding the back foot onto its outer knife edge. Remember the toes face slightly inwards. As you exhale, a little dip into your warrior two. Reverse down dog. So a nice twisted back bend, but a reach of the chest and a gaze past the ceiling as you allow the sink of the hips. And then as you come back into neutral, left hand onto the knee. Watch how we'll bend into this thigh. Try reach that left side body long as you rotate the right rib cage towards the ceiling. Spinning both hands back to the mat, stepping that back leg forward and rolling yourself up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Nice tall reach. Swan dive or roll down, your call. The hamstrings are warm for a swan dive. Flat back. Hopping or stepping to the back of your mat. For up dog, mini cobra or sphinx. Down dog. Last 2 rounds. As we squeeze the right bum, single leg downward dog, spin onto the outside of the left foot. You can stay there or you can visit wild thing. Chest is tall. Drawing yourself back to the front of your mat. Stepping the back leg forward. Soft through the hands, the elbows, the shoulders as you roll back up to standing. Chest tall. Swan dive or roll down. Arta for flat back. And hopping or stepping back for your chaturanga of up dog, sphinx, mini cobra. Down dog. Left side is either pausing as you spin onto the outside of the right foot or wild thing. Returning back, stepping to the front of your mat. And from this forward fold, a little bend at the knees, down to those heels, a little walk of those hands behind you. As you lengthen the left leg long and straight, use the right shin to gently come tall through the spine, taking the right hand behind you, taking the left arm tall. Try keep that length just like our last 3 or 4 visits and twists. Wrapping that left elbow around the outside of the right knee. Find yourself some space if you take the arm a little further away, or you can come tall and narrow. As we come back into neutral, just slide the right foot underneath the left thigh. Draw that left foot underneath the right. Mega, mega soft through the belly. As you bring chin into chest, as you allow the shoulders to roll forward, as you allow the whole spine to flex. If it's a challenge for whatever reason today or whenever, just bring the hands to the side for the first fall down. If things are feeling free, you can stack those fists or grab the block and rest the forehead on top of the block. Gently walk back up and out of it. Scoot the left foot out the side. Send the right leg long and straight. With the left arm behind you, find some length through that spine again. Keeping that length as you bring that right elbow to the outside of the knee. Dropping yourself back into neutral. This time slide the left foot underneath the right thigh and right foot underneath the left shin. Try find your comfort and your forward fold. Remember, everything's connected. Even though this is spinal night, it's mainly spine. That's probably emergency care, to be honest. Whereas if we release things like the hips here now and gently soften our thighs, our side body, our lats, just gently allow the hamstrings to soften, it'll be way less pressure through our spine. As we draw back into neutral, scoot those feet out in front of you again. Left leg long and straight, and this time wrapping the right foot up and over the left. If you're comfortable in this position, you can scoot that left heel towards the right bottom and rotating to the right. This time gently drawing that right knee in towards the left armpit. Coming back into center and a little unwrap, either straightening the right and wrapping the left up and over, or drawing the right heel towards your bottom too. Exhaling as you draw the right knee towards your armpit and gently twisting through the spine. It's not that we constantly throughout the day need to really reach tall towards the ceiling all the time. It's just that when you're utilizing a slow hour of nourishing all your joints, it's a good chance to articulate that way. When you walk away from this session, come back into your relaxed state, not your compressed state, a relaxed length. As we come back into neutral and unwrapping both those feet, a little hug of the knees or just a gentle roll back down onto the floor, drawing both knees in towards that chest. And as you return the feet back down towards the ground, a little arch of the pelvis, a little rock side to side as you find some shoulder blades to almost press into. As you start to arch that spine, reaching the belly button and the lowest rib up towards the ceiling. Now breathe into that rib cage in that position. Expanding those ribs away from each other again whilst trying to keep that arch through the low back. And on your next exhale, you can just allow the spine and the shoulder blades to return to a neutral position. Feet stacked, so placed together, exhaling as you roll to your right. You can bring the arms into cactus if you want to fix that upper back to the floor. Coming back into center and rolling to your left, relaxing that belly completely. as you come back into neutral and find your figure of four. Resting that right foot on the outside of the left knee, and we should be fairly comfortable coming into this quite deep twist if you wish. If it doesn't feel right in one of the previous stretches, just stay there. So the arms in cactus, fixing the upper back, and the right foot rested on the outside of the left knee. If it's not quite right, just slip the right foot off the knee for a moment. Use your last exhale just to see if you really let go or if you're holding into this twist. As you slip that right foot off the knee, drift back into neutral. Brief knee hug, letting the lower back drift away from the floor perhaps. And as you return the foot back to the floor, resting the left foot onto the outside of the right knee. Bring those arms into cactus if you want to fix the shoulder blades and the rib cage to the floor. And roll to that left. Slipping the left foot off, drawing back into neutral. One final knee hug. It's always nice to flex the spine, having come into a deep twist. Chin into chest maybe. Before finding your position of best comfort. Remember, that's yours, nobody else's. We always encourage legs nice and long and arms just to the side, palms facing up. That's nothing other than a circulation thing. If you have comfort in knees bent or hands under your head, it's your call. Wherever your position, you'll soon know, because you'll be able to completely relax. And there won't be a guard in that lower back or in those hips, in those shoulders. We're not going to go through any counting breath work tonight, any guided breath work. It's just going to be a few minutes of you controlling your own breath. Soft, slow, delayed. Inhales and exhales. Allowing the belly to fill. And allowing those softened ribs to expand. It might feel awkward at times. But this is you at your most control over your breath. That's what pranayama is, breath control. There'll be distractions galore, no doubt. We're all human. Just come back to your inhales, your exhales. And noting what it's doing to your body, the subtle movements in your body. Last 2 exhales. And a little awareness back to your fingertips and your toes. A little roll of those legs side to side. A little hip hinge maybe, or a little reach of those arms above the head. Knees into chest if you wish, or that roll side to side. As you scoot onto the right hand side, you can always stay there as long as you wish. Or a little press up into seated.